What the Constitution is, and what it is not. The Constitution is not what most people think it is. It is not a list of personal rights, it is not a moral charter, it is not a permission slip for government to do whatever it wants. The Australian Constitution is something far more specific and far more important. It is a structural instrument, it creates officers, it assigns powers, and it sets strict limits on what those officers are allowed to do. That's it. It does not grant authority broadly, it does not confer blanket power, and it does not exist to manage people's lives. Every lawful act of government must be able to trace its authority back to the Constitution. If it can't, then that power is not sovereign, it is administrative at best, and that distinction matters. Because there is a fundamental difference between lawful authority and assumed authority. Lawful authority comes from the Constitution, assumed authority comes from policy, regulation, and habit. And over time, Australians have been conditioned to treat administrative power as if it were constitutional power, even when it isn't. This is why understanding the Constitution isn't about politics, it's about structure, it's about jurisdiction, it's about knowing where authority actually begins and where it ends. The Constitution doesn't govern people directly, it governs institutions. It tells Parliament what it can and cannot do, it tells the executive how power may be exercised, and it limits the reach of government by design. If an office, department, or agency cannot point to a clear constitutional source for its authority, then it is operating by delegation and not by right, and delegation can be withdrawn. That's why this matters. Because when people believe government power is absolute, they stop asking questions. But when people understand that all authority must be traceable, limited, and lawful, they begin to see the difference between governance and control. This isn't about rebellion, it's about literacy. It's about knowing the framework you're living under, and once you understand that the Constitution is a structural document, not a permission slip, not about politics, you start to see the system very differently. It's about whether authority is lawful or merely assumed. Not as something that rules you, but something that was meant to be restrained. Thank you and God bless. Commonwealth Custodians Community.